Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Hockey 101. For those of you watching the video version of this podcast, welcome to the open collared shirt cast is what we're calling this one. Lots of open collars. Bob Turo didn't get the memo about showing a little chest cabbage. That's okay, though. We'll bring him in just the same. But first, I've got to introduce a man who did get the memo. He's flashing an extra button down on his short sleeve button down selling shirt. It's Dan K. Dan, what are you selling tonight?
Hey, the one thing about this Dan K Show product, Lucas, it's the only soul in hockey that can't and hasn't been bought. We're here to cover everybody, everything, and we're here with the facts, okay? We're here with numbers. We're here with data. And a man who has a penance to give, he's got an apology today, is about to get introduced in, okay? Today we're going to talk about Americans leaving America, Europeans to the CHL, and we're going to run through the Q a bit today. We'll have a couple episodes, one about the Q, one about the Dub, one about the OHL. We're going to break down each league, what roster makeups look like. But before that, Bob, you had a dignitary in the game of hockey call you out, telling you that it certainly wouldn't be 0 players leaving the CHL for the USHL. Would you like to apologize now that the data's in?
I would like to apologize to the head coach of the Youngstown Phantoms. We made a post earlier on in the year, I'm trying not to smile, where we said there was 50 USHL players who left the USHL for the CHL and no players who left the CHL for the
It's supposed to be an apology, Bob. Keep it together.
It's hard to apologize. It's hard to apologize.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Anyways, we were wrong. And the actual numbers came in because the rosters came out. And there were actually not 50 that left the USHL for the CHL. There were 57, and we're still counting. But there were 6 players who left the CHL and went to the USHL. Now, there's a qualifier here. There's an asterisk. 5 of them are overages, okay, and 1's a Euro, and they have a limitation on Euros. No disrespect to the kids who went to the USHL, but they were not, this is a kind way of saying, let's just say it. This is a kind way of saying cut. They weren't in the plans of the CHL teams. And what we're about to show tonight, and then tomorrow night, and then the following night when we break down the 3 leagues, just where all the dust has settled, as far as USA players leaving or bypassing the USHL and going to the CHL, or directly leaving out of the USHL to go to the CHL. So, Mr. Ward, you have my sincerest apologies. The number is 6.
Yeah, and I think for the folks at home, again, tongue-in-cheek moment there, right? A little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a chuckle. When folks kind of argue integrity, and you're doing something as a group that are not tied to anybody other than the numbers and the facts and trying to help this game of hockey, you get frustrated, you have these tongue-in-cheek moments. But in reality, look, for those 6 players, it's going to be a great opportunity. Go play in the USHL. It's a great league. It's a great opportunity for them to play, be seen by scouts, and still make the move to NCAA hockey. Will it be Division I or will it be Division III? That's going to be a big part of the story that we tell now going forward. And the next 365 days is going to tell that story for us, for the folks in the USHL, for the folks in the CHL. You can fight the currents all you want, but you can't fight statistics and you can't fight numbers and you can't fight data. So as the facts continue to come out, we'll continue to report on them, and the chips will fall where they may, and that's our goal. Bob, speaking of facts, speaking of chips falling where they may, where have they fallen in the queue? Let's get into it.
Lucas, before we get there, I think you made a really good point before we came on air, and that is, we don't have a horse in the race here. We could care less where the chips fall. We're just literally calling balls and strikes. That's it. And yeah, we're going to talk about what happened with the USHL and the American kids going to the CHL. But believe me, we're getting to the CHL and where their hurt is coming the following week. Okay, because they're in a world of hurt as well. Because Division I hockey is going to do, looks like is going to do exactly what we suggested was going to happen, and possibly turn the CHL into a 16, 17, maybe 18-year-old league. They're going in and they're grabbing a lot of the best players before their junior eligibility is up. So we're coming, NCAA, and we might even have some suggestions on how you may be able to make this move faster. So it's just not a crash on how the CHL is wiping the floor with the USHL. Let's get into some numbers here, guys, and let me share my screen here.
Well, and as we talked about, we're not really in it for a point of view except for kind of what the data shows. And Bob, once again, you've kind of given us some fantastic numbers, a huge deep dive, and I think more importantly, a lot of tabs on the spreadsheet that we're going to be going over in the next couple of days.
And all of this is going to be replacing the USA Flips to CHL tab once we get it formatted and neatly arranged there. But you're seeing some rough work here. And here what you have, I mean, we knew what the starting point was last year in 24-25. You can see the three leagues. We're concentrating on the Q right now. And last year they had 19 Americans. Why so few compared to the other leagues? Well, there's places where Americans just aren't going to go because of the French language barrier. But what you can see right here in 25-26, they have more than doubled the Americans that they have in the league. So if I skip over, you're going to see two tabs here. The first tab is by team, and you can see the color that we're looking at here. What would you call that color? A beige? It's not a beige, but
it's more like a burnt orange.
A burnt orange. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, the burnt orange are the players that are coming into the queue as new players this year. The yellow are returning, so not all 19 are returning because some of them aged out. And then we're going to get into some Euros. Now the Euros don't count for the 44, but they're a significant storyline, not just for the Q, but the dub and the O. And so you can see as we scroll down here, Baie-Comeau, typically a French community, not many. Cape Breton, more. Charlottetown, more. Chicoutimi, French, less. Okay, and that's the story. Look at Moncton. Moncton, a perennial powerhouse in the queue. They've dipped in for 9 players, and St. John as well. So you're seeing the players that are going to the queue are predominantly going to the English-speaking, but not necessarily all of them. I'll tell you where it breaks a little bit. It breaks for the Europeans. So the Europeans, if you remember, I think it was Dan or maybe it was Lucas or maybe it was me who made a prediction when the CHL did their CHL import draft, they were going to basically take who they wanted from the USHL. And the USHL had done a really good job recruiting Europeans, and they did. And all you have to do, take a look at the green right there. I mean, you take a look at Oliver's Murnix, who's going to schedule to be a first rounder this year, okay? Or Shiloff is going to be a first rounder in 2026 in the National Hockey League draft. They're not just taking Europeans, they're taking the best Europeans. You know, you can see kids committed to BU. A lot of the Europeans don't have commitments because I think they're looking to go straight to pro, which is very common for Europeans. If you scroll back up, you can see, and this is not totally completed, you can see where the commitments already are. They're not going to the CHL to get a commitment. They're going there, I think if you ask all of them and ask their agents, because it's the best place for them to develop. But a whole bunch of them already have commitments and to big-time schools. If you break it down over here, where it's kind of the pinky color, you can see where each team was last year and where they are in 2025. The last thing I want to point out is when you take a look at by age, and this is something that if you dig really under the covers here, you're going to see a difference between the USHL and the three major junior leagues, especially the two major junior leagues in Ontario and Western Canada. They're looking for younger players who have the potential to be NHL draft choices. And so when you break this down here and you take a look at column C, they've got 3 2009s and they have a bunch of 2008s. Are there some older players? There sure are, because it's still junior hockey, and those older players are going to help you win, and there has to be a balancing act. But that's what you're seeing. And if I go back to the other tab here for a second, let me just scroll over. You're going to see, where do I have it here? No, maybe I don't have it here. Oh, I have it over here. The total CHL summary. You can take a look that 44% have not even been eligible to be drafted into the NHL yet that the CHL has taken. So they do like younger players.
Yeah, so question, Bob, is obviously the numbers from 2024 to 2025 represent a huge jump. 19 in 2024, 44 in 2025. That's a number that is more than doubling, right? It's a double and then some extras. I mean, are we chalking this up to entirely just they're looking for younger talent? Are we looking at some of the older players like the 06s and the 07s? Do we feel like they're trying to chase a little bit of where that younger talent wants to go? Or are we just looking at this as a general trend where there's not really one specific driver behind it besides now it's a possibility?
I think what you're just looking at in general here is the players are telling us that this is the best place for me to prepare to be an NHL hockey player, if that's a possibility, and certainly the best place now to develop as a hockey player before I either go to the school that I'm committed to or to get a commitment. We know last year when the rule changed in November, USHL and North American League and BCHL rinks, they didn't empty, but their numbers went dramatically down as far as Division I coaches visiting them. The Division I coaches were all in the CHL. They had to cram a whole scouting season into November, December, January, and basically February. So as far as the teams go, come back to this. Yes, they want NHL players, but the one thing the coaches have to do is they have to win hockey games. And there's sometimes that older players they're going to help you win hockey games if they're the right fit for you. A couple other things that I wanted to point out. Take a look at where these players are coming from. They're coming from prep schools, okay? Like Governors, Avon Old Farms, Kimball Union, Lawrence Academy. This would never happen before. And these are younger kids who have not, the kids I just pointed out, kids who haven't graduated from those schools. Typically what would happen before would be a player who was going to these academies, wanted the diploma, and once they were done, they would head out to the USHL if they didn't already head to their Ivy school or whatever Division I school they were going to. They're leaving now. You're seeing academies, Rivers Academy, okay? Look at the Shattuck kids. Like when we go over the other leagues, Shattuck like just is supplying the CHL with talent. And there's another thing. I mean, these academies that are now up and running and established like Shattuck or like Bishop, okay? Or like Mount St. Charles. Their relationships are all going to change right now. They're going to want their kids, there's no doubt in my mind, they're going to want their kids going to the CHL because that's what's best for their program. Now, maybe I'm wrong. But I think what you're going to see is you're going to see these schools, these academies, they're going to start saying, I can get you to the CHL, not I can get you to the USHL. They took him from the North American League. I mean, it's truly amazing where they're getting, like the top end prep schools, Phillips Andover, Cushing, like it's a disaster. And they're taking, if you take a look at the red, they're taking USHL, NHL draft choices that aren't ready to play college hockey. I mean, and this is the weakest of the three leagues. When we start getting into, I mean, all you have to do is take a look at the sheet here. The Q had 44. The Dubs got 86 and the OHL's got 86. I mean, when we get in there, it's a shellacking. Now, I don't know if you guys have been watching online, but I've been seeing line charts online from the USHL. And I'm still seeing, as we predicted, all kinds of college logos there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, we said right from the very beginning, if there's 500 freshmen coming in, all the college coaches told us there's going to be at least 50% of the players, when all the dust settles, that are going to come from the CHL. That leaves 250 players. Guys, we predicted 200 are going to come from the USHL. The USHL is not going away. By the way, it's still a really good league. Okay? But what you're going to see is you're going to see players that are not going to the blue bloods as much. You're going to see what you would have seen if you saw a North American League line chart last year. The non-blue blood logos beside the names. And so I would watch for that. The other thing I would watch for, guys, is who's going to leave. There's going to be somebody leave the USHL in the middle of the year. Who's it going to be? There's going to be a high-end prep school kid who's going to leave in the middle of the year. Who's it going to be? And God forbid there's not another J.P. Hurlburt who left the development program. I mean, because if there is, I mean, it just keeps raining. Again, we don't care who wins this, but these are just the facts. Yes.
Bob, we hear recently out of the USHL camp talks of expansion, talks of growth, talks of opportunity north of the border with at least one location interested in a USHL expansion franchise. Can you weigh in with your thoughts on that? Do you think now's the time to expand? Do you think that is the better way to try to show the hockey world that you have strength? We've seen other leagues try that and fall flat on their face in the past 365 days. Do you think this is the right move for the USHL? Do you think it should be batten down the hatches and make the operational inner workings of the USHL better than ever, player development better than ever, and let's see what we can do with what we have? Or is expansion the best way to start fighting back?
So they have to do something. When all of this started happening, I think you guys can recall that we gave the USHL head office credit for battling back. Like, they were doing something, whereas we saw nothing from College Hockey Inc. and really nothing from the NCAA schools. They were battling. It was kind of a shell game because we all knew what was going to happen, specifically with expansion. I would say this. Let's say they're going to still have 200 commitments, and I believe they will. And let's say they're of lesser quality. And let's just, for math purposes, say that they were going to double the size of the league. Doesn't that mean half as many scholarship players on each team?
Yes.
Doesn't that mean less logos of colleges on line charts? Doesn't it mean it's harder to scout your league from a college standpoint or a National Hockey League standpoint? Do I believe that there is interest out there? I do. I know personally of one person who's looking to invest in the USHL right now. But would I invest my money in the USHL right now? Not a chance. I mean, it's going in the opposite direction. I mean, and if it...
Well, at the very least, it's at the very, very least, maybe being generous, but even if you don't feel like it's going in the opposite direction, it still hasn't taken strides to fix the underlying problem that we've been talking about for a year, right? So even if you feel as if, this USHL is doing great, fine, but they still haven't addressed the core problem, which is that even though the number's not 0, the number's still only 6, right? And so that right there should be an issue when it comes to, hey, why are you trying to put an addition on the house if you haven't fixed the termite problem?
So the question is, how do you fix it? We're supposed to be talking about the Q. I don't know if there's a fix. If I were fixing it, I'd go, and I keep saying this over and over and over again, I'd go younger. The problem is, when I was in the USHL, most of the owners didn't want any young players at all. Like, they've come a long way since I was in the USHL. With young players, and certain programs have really done a really good job with younger players. But I think what you're going to see is if the best young players are going to the CHL, I really see the USHL turning into what the North American League was. An older league, a heavier league, a faster league, because they're still going to be better than what the North American League was.
Yep.
Maybe that's the way you go about it, and maybe you market that you still have 150 to 200 scholarships. They're still going to have NHL draft picks. Listen, they have good players in their league, and right now they have the development team in their league. So it's not like they're dead, guys. They're not dead. Okay? But, like, this is like getting shot in both legs and being asked to walk. And, back to expansion. I mean, if you're in Toronto, who are your travel partners?
Yeah.
And who are your travel partners knowing that Muskegon and Youngstown, apparently last year, if you go by all the media accounts, tried to leave? What are you going to be in Ontario, in Toronto, let's just say, or some smaller town just outside of Toronto, and your closest team that you can play is the development team, and your next closest team is in Iowa? Or Illinois, I guess it would be. I mean, I don't see it. Now, why would you expand? You'd expand for money.
Yeah, of course.
Right? I don't know what they're asking for a new USHL team. I'm guessing it's certainly not 20 million Canadian, 15 million US that the Ontario Hockey League is asking for. But my guess it would be probably around $5 million. And you know what? There's lots of hockey parents that would pay for that. So we'll see.
It's going to be...
Well, I think one of the things is, if you think the numbers for the Q tell a story, just wait until we get to the next episode where we talk about the numbers from the Dub, because those numbers, I think, are even more interesting, Bob.
No question. And I would encourage everybody to go to the website, go to the tracker, take a look at what we have there now. When you see it updated, it's just going to blow your mind. It'll just be in a neater package. But then the rest of the data that's there is like overwhelming, and just to foreshadow just a little bit, I mean, we talked about the CHL going to be taking a beating from the NCAA. You'll be able to see all the players that are scheduled to leave early and all the NHL draft picks out of the CHL that left, like the Gavin McKennas, to go play in the NCAA. It's all there. There is no better tracker anywhere. And tomorrow we'll do the Dub.
That's it. You heard it from the man himself. There is no better tracker anywhere. Tracking apps, beware. Tracking dogs, absolutely not. Adorable, great. As good as trackers as we are, absolutely not. You'll have to tune back in for our Dub and OHL numbers, which are coming up very soon. If you're watching this episode live on Monday, they come out Tuesday and Wednesday. And if you're not watching this episode on Monday, the 29th, you got some catching up to do. We'll be back with our numbers from the Dub and the O soon.